You did so much work in showing love. I'm going to let you take your seats while I read this scripture. Matthew, the 11th chapter, beginning at the 28th verse. To all of our visitors who are here with us, gathered, we're grateful, so grateful for you. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be with us today, and we're grateful that you're here. Before you go home, don't run straight to your cars, but under the tent, or the pop-up right outside this door, our the greeters team our first contact team has a small gift, a token of our appreciation for you coming to worship with us today. And all those who are watching via live stream, we're grateful to have you in the house. Believe that God has a word for you today. Matthew, the 11th chapter, the 28th verse. When you get there, say something. Not there yet. Say, hold up. Wait a minute. Matthew 11th chapter, beginning at the 28th verse. And it reads, "Come to me." Jesus speaking. That makes sense. He says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I'm gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your soul. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Right before you take your seats, if you would inhale really quickly, and when you exhale, just say, "Ah." That's the sermon title for today. You may be seated. The older I get, the longer I do this, the longer I live. I don't know if any of you are like me. The simpler things get for me. The simpler things are for me. I don't need a whole lot to find enjoyment. I filled my life early years at times with activities and even possessions. But I don't need, a whole lot to put me in my happy place. A good mocha, I said good. A good mocha latte with oat milk. I'm good. You don't even have to put the little heart on mine. I'm good. A fragrance. Anything that moves that olfactory sense, a good fragrance. Just if I'm traveling, for those of you who ever traveled with me, you know if there's a fragrance shop, a niche fragrance boutique, just leave me alone for 3 hours. Go on about your business, because I don't need anybody tapping their watch on me when I'm in my happy place. I can sit out for hours on end on a warm day, not too hot, but warm day, with an ocean breeze and a beautiful, endless body of water. Lately, and I'm excited to tell you, our retreat center's coming. We got some good, working on it. I'm working on it. But I've been enjoying spending time in the mountains, surrounded by beautiful palm trees, taking in nature, no loud motorcycles and ambulances every 2 seconds. But you could actually hear yourself think, do exercises while sitting out there to try to name all the things that you hear. And people doesn't come up often. I like being there. Even with my shopping now, I don't really need a lot of stuff. Some people, and I'm not knocking your hustle, but some people have to have it all to get fly. You know what I mean? They have to have, they go into Gucci, get the shirt, the belt, the pants, the socks, the backpack, the bag, and the shoes. I don't need all that. I don't need all that. In fact, even my I'm a detail person. If the details are right, you can cut corners on the fit sometimes. All right. You can put on a good fella black T-shirt. That's from Target. I don't know if the boycott's still on or not, but listen, here's my point. I had mine beforehand. You can put on, a simple T-shirt if it looks right, and some decent jeans, and if you have little details. So I don't focus on doing the whole thing every day. Just keep it simple. But if you have some nice details, maybe a nice belt from time to time. Maybe I'm into watches, a decent watch, and a little. You're not gonna catch me blinged out. I'm not gonna be iced out. I'll probably never in my life be iced out. But I'll have a nice little subtle chain or something like that. And you could go a long way with all those things. And my grandmother told me, with a decent pair of shoes. Remember that, Granny? You told me, with a decent pair of shoes. And so, listen, I don't need it all, but I just like details, some of the details. Because when you have the details, you can cut corners on some of the clothes. That's a life hack right there. Go ahead and take that wisdom key. Save yourself some money. From time to time, when you go in, I'm a sucker for shoes. Anybody? Okay, I'm Wayne Chaney, and these are my confessions. Is there anybody who is a bit of a sucker for shoes? Shoes. Come on, husbands, raise your hand for your wife, because she's fronting in church. You had to build another closet for her shoes. You're gonna play around and sucker for shoes. Okay, good. Sucker for shoes. And I'm not, I don't get real deep with it. I'm not a sneakerhead or anything like that. But I do like shoes, to pick a nice pair of shoes. And here's what I like about shoes. I like the little detail, the pop-up detail that they give. But sometimes, when going into the shoe store, have you ever been in the shoe store? When you go in the shoe store, you find some that you just have to have. They're cold. And I have ADD, but I also have an issue at times with delayed gratification. I wrestle with when I want something in the store, and they don't have it, and they tell you that they can order it and it ships out in a couple weeks. Never mind, sir. I plan to live a long life, but I don't have a couple weeks, man. I want these shoes. And so they often ask, what's the first question they ask you? If you ask them, do they have a pair of shoes? They ask you, well, what's your size? And, depending on where you are, maybe European and maybe American. And me, just in case you want to bless it, but I'm a 12. I'm a U.S. 12. European, I believe it's 45. I'm a 45. 12 and 45. They ask you what your shoe size is, and they say, let me check. We'll be right back. They go and check, and then they come back. And when they come back from checking, you in eager anticipation are waiting to see if they have your size. And has anybody ever been struck by the disappointment that comes when they come back? I'm sorry, sir. We don't have your size. Now, the average person would turn around and walk out of the store and thank them for their time, not me. You'd think I would have learned my lesson by now, but I respond with, well, what sizes do you have? And then they start naming the sizes that they have. Well, we don't have a 12, but we have the largest size we have is an 11. Sometimes they run big. I'm gonna sit here, run me those 11s. Let me see what those 11s talking about, because when you see something you like, you really want it. Anybody ever been there where it didn't have your size, that a size under you, like, what, let me see, because you never know. Some of y'all put those Christian Louboutins on, sisters. You know what you're talking about. Even your size, it will tear up your toes. You got to plan that. And they bring the shoe out, and y'all got a shoehorn? You know what? I think my sock's too thick. Can you get me one of those stocking silk socks? I brought my running socks. Run me one of those stocking silk socks. They bring the stocking silk sock. They have the shoehorn, and you finally squeeze. You know what? My right foot's my big foot. You try to squeeze in, and they say things like, let me feel your toe. Don't worry about that. It's okay. Because I got to wear these. They look good. You get up and you try to walk. Your walk's all messed up. You're curling your toes because you're trying to convince yourself into something that you really want, only to find that they're too small. Now, a sound individual would give the shoes back, let them know they're too small, they don't fit, and go look for a secondary option. But sometimes we're too determined to give the shoes back. We pay our good money for shoes that are too small. How many of us have done that more than once? And it jacked your toes up so bad that you swore you would never make that mistake again until you saw something else you wanted and the size didn't fit. If you've ever worn shoes that don't fit, you know a couple of things. And one thing you know is that you can still walk. You can still go to all the events and the functions, but here's what you know, that every step hurts. You can look good, and people may not know your pain, but you are silently suffering because once again you've crammed your feet into a shoe that is too small. The problem in this scenario is not walking. The problem is what you are wearing while you walk. If you get it early enough, we can go to brunch on time. Jesus comes and he says, he observes people who are trying to live the life that he's called them to while experiencing a persistent, perpetual pain. It is not a pain that is obvious to everyone who is around. It is like those messed up shoes. It is a functional pain. From the outside, everything looks ornate and ordained and beautiful. But on the inside, there is pain with every step, with every day. We're waiting for the promises of the fulfillment of what it means to be saved and to walk with God, because that is what's been advertised. But the reality is, we are saved, but at the same time in the struggle. Because Christ says, I am the way, the truth, the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. In other words, he is not only the host of the party, he is the door into the house. But most of us have crossed the threshold of the door by making him the Lord and the Savior of our lives, but we have not experienced the fullness of what is inside the house. And so while he looks at people that have a relationship with God but have a misunderstanding about what that entails, he's looking at people who, in his words, are weary, heavy laden, and who are fatigued of the soul. And it's quite possible to be in church, to know Jesus, to be saved, but also to be fatigued. Not the kind of fatigue that you can sleep off, not the kind of fatigue that you can vacation off, the kind of fatigue that is persistent. You come back from Bora Bora and still feel heavy and still feel low and still feel weighed down and still feel in despair and still feel overly anxious and still feel constantly pressured. He said, I'm looking at a people that are attempting to connect with God, but attempting to connect with God through their heaviness. Some of us are not tired because we are walking. We're tired because we are wearing something God did not put on us. And there's a combination of things that cause us to persist, like those shoes. Sometimes there are things that we really wanted, and we really wanted them so bad that we decided not to consult God about it. We're going to squeeze our foot into this blessing. Some of us have squeezed into relationships and didn't want to hear what God had to say because it might detour our plans. We knew it was tight when we signed up, but assumed that it would stretch out over time. Ooh, I used to love it when they say amen. Now I love it when it becomes progressively quiet. It means something's happening. Look at your neighbor, ask them, what have you squeezed into? Yeah, you squeezed in with a silk stocking, sock, a shoehorn, and some warm butter. There's heaviness that many of us are carrying because of what we forced without consultation with the master. But some shoes you put on, you don't know that they're not a good fit until you wear them for a while. There's some shoes, the things we squeeze into are things that we know we've departed from God on, but still desire. But there are some things that we're just ignorant of. We didn't know that we didn't know. Like trying shoes on that fit us in the store, only to find that the more we use them, they rub in the wrong space. I have a tender pinky toe. And part of the reason I struggled with wearing those Chucks on 90 Sunday is because the crease is right where the pinky toe is most tender. And I didn't know that in the store. But after time of walking in that condition and over time, the wearing of something that I was unaware of initially, listen, over time, it started to manifest in pain. There are certain things that we're carrying, please hear me, that we know we forced our way into. There are other things that we innocently or ignorantly have found ourselves in and didn't realize until we got down the road that it is something that is fatiguing to our soul. Jesus comes to these people who have been weighed down by the normal trials of life, weighed down by the expectation of the religious leaders that added 613 laws to the law of Moses and amendments with their own interpretation, depending on which rabbi, are you with me, of that amendment. And so they're adding not only to the law of Moses, they're adding their own interpretations that they're heaping on the people that are present. Jesus says, my yoke to them is easy. In other words, what I place on you, follow me, what I place on you will fit the grace I put in you. Follow me, taking notes. Jesus says, I'm not promising you life is going to be easy, that there will not be challenges, listen to me, but what I put on you will match, it will fit the grace I put in you. Which, before we get into the real message, I want to take a parenthetical pause if I can to address this idea, particularly in this generation, of ambition for ambition's sake. Because we saw it on the gram. because our homegirl down the street and around the corner did it or is doing it, we're going to do it too. Be very careful when it's simply your ambition that is driving you. Because if your ambition starts the work, your ambition is going to have to keep the work up. Make sure, in addition to your desires, that you're consulting with the Lord. Because what I found is, if the Lord orders it, the Lord will pay for it. If the Lord initiates it, the Lord will ensure that he finishes what he starts. But when it's simple ambition and we're not mindful about how we started, we begin in ambition and expect the Lord, by his grace, to hold up what he never intended for us. Like shoes, some burdens hurt because they were never assigned by God. And we get back to God, not just for our worship and not just for momentary inspiration. No, we get back to God because God is the driving force of our life. Jesus said, I only do what I see my Father do in heaven, and none of us do that perfectly. But if we ever want realignment, if we ever want to find ourselves back in the center of God's will, we got to consult with the one that has put us on mission. Jesus says, I'm looking at a people, he says it with a certain tenderness. He does not say it as an accusation. He does not say it to beat up on people. But with tenderness in his heart, he says, as he's seeing people weighed down by what they should not be carrying, he says, hey, come to me. I got an invitation with your name on it. All of you who are weary. You don't have to raise your hand on this, but I know, because God gave me this word on divine assignment. I wasn't even supposed to be here. The Lord gave me this word for people in this place today, that there are some people in this place that are weary. You can't sleep it off. You can't vacation it off. You can't smoke it out. You can't make a love it out. I didn't think that one through. You can't. It's not as simple as that. There is, listen to me, there's a weariness. There's a weariness not just of the body. There's a weariness not just of the mind, but there is a weariness of the soul. And Jesus says in this passage, he says, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, weighed down. He says, and I will give you rest. What kind of rest? Rest. Not from the outside in, but I'm going to give you rest from the inside out. Rest, not from the outside in. It's not another item you're going to buy to satisfy you temporarily. This is not the relationship you're going to jump into so that there's something there to soothe the pain. This is not from the outside in. He said, I'm going to give you rest. Here's my desire. Come to me. Come here. He said, and I'm going to give you rest from the inside out. And if there's one thing that we need in this room, you don't have to. You can front if you want to. Like the person that is in pain with those tight shoes, and nobody knows. I know there's some tight shoes in here. I know there's some heavy burdens in here. I know there's some people that get 9 hours, 8 hours of sleep, but wake up more tired than they went to bed, not because of just the circumstances in your life, but because of the weariness of the soul. Jesus says, here's why I want you to come to me. Number one, taking notes, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. There is a heaviness or weariness in the people that he's speaking to. And historically, there are, if you're an OG Antioch member, you know the top two. I'm going to add one to them. Number one, when Jesus says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. We're going to teach through this thing today. So if you're waiting for the shout, you're going to wait too late. He says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. Now, here we go. Number one, yoke. Say yoke. Yoke. It is not egg yolk that he's talking about here. But in agricultural society, they didn't have John Deere tractors to work to till the fields, and so the oxen, they used animals, and the oxen were fixed to an object that would go over their necks in a buckle fastener. Some people, when I go to parts of Africa and various parts of the world, they still have some fields that are worked by oxen with yokes. The yoke goes around the neck of the oxen with a beam that goes underneath so that the oxen cannot wiggle from out of the yoke. But as the oxen move forward or are driven forward, there is an instrument that tills the field behind them, kind of like a modern day tractor. But they use animals. There was real horsepower. They use animals to walk the fields. Now they walk the fields. The instrumentation that was fixed to the yoke that was around their neck would work the field as they move forward. So when Jesus, this is multi-layered, when Jesus says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light, here's what he's saying. Number one, he says, the work that I've called you to should be, not that it's not challenging at times. Here's what he was saying. He was saying, it is well-fitting for you. One of the ways you know if something is God, sometimes immediately, other times over time, is how it feels when you wear it. There are certain things that I've been graced to do that would kill other people, but because I'm graced to do it, I am anointed for the task. What would kill other people, sometimes, even if it's problems, enlivens me. There are times where I do not want to carry it out. I don't want to go through with it. But I look up, and while I should be crazy and should have lost my mind, God is still keeping me. God is still sustaining me. And people around me who know me are scratching their heads saying, how is he still enduring this? How is he going through this? How is he still functioning? And how is he not missing a beat in this area? Well, it's not because I have all of the strength, but because, listen to me, I was anointed for it. It is from God. It is ordained by God for me to get through it. It is well-fitting to me. And you know often if something is of God by how well-fitting it is. Are you graced for the task? Is there a peace, or is there a striving? Did it slip on? Or am I forcing it? Jesus says one of the telltale signs that is of me is the word, this phrase means it's well-fitting. So here's what he says. The work I've called you to, the yoke, which represents the work God calls us to. He says the work I've called you to should not kill you every day. Even if it's difficult for others, it still should be well-fitting for you. The relationship he called you to is not going to give you anxiety every day you wake up. I got 3 that's goods before when I was talking about work. Somebody said, not my boo. He says, the work I've called you to, listen, is well-fitting. Here's one of the ways you know what you're anointed to do. One of the hacks, ready for the major key number 2? One of the hacks to let you know what you're called to is what energizes you but exhausts others, right? What energizes you but exhausts others? I'm going to tell you right now, if you're halfway intelligent, you can do anything well for a while. Like you could do those shoes walking around the store, but about third song in, you ain't cha-cha sliding to these. You know that you're not called to it when you can do it, but it fatigues and frustrates you to do so. I can do administration, but I am not called. And the staff said, hey, I'm not called. I'm intelligent enough to help direct it, But while certain people after their second meeting in a day are like, when's the next one? I'm looking for the escape hatch in the first meeting. I'm trying to. You're halfway intelligent. You can do anything well. You can wear anything well, but you can only wear it for a while. Jesus says, I'm looking at people who are fatigued in their soul. I'm looking at people who are worn down. And he said, one of the reasons that you're worn down is because you're called to a work that is killing you. Not one that you're ordained to do. He said, I'm looking at the people, number two, yoke of oxen. Yoke was not only the work that they were called to. Number two, yoke was a yoke of was known as rabbi. They were traveling rabbis, so it wasn't like everybody just believed the same thing or everybody had the same school of thought. There were many rabbis that had interpretations of the original law of Moses, and each rabbi's teaching was known as their yoke of teaching. So when Jesus says that the work I called you to, number one, is well-fitting, he says, number two, come and learn from me. Come here, come learn from me. Because here's what's happening. You're getting teaching that is not only are you taking on work that God has not ordained, you are taking into your belief system words and expectations and teachings and addition to God's teachings that God never intended. This is why here at this church, I ain't talking about any other church. Here at this church, there is spirit and truth. There is also inspiration, revelation, but there is also a depth to the best of our ability of theology. We are not a perfect place, but it is important. We got, please forgive me, don't cancel me, cancel culture, but we got to make theology sexy again. Thank you. It's okay. Everybody else, Lord, deliver from the religious spirit. We have to, here's why. Because it is not separate from our being. It is not separate from our living. It is not separate from our moods and our anxieties and our inspirations and our hopes and our outlooks. But it is a study. What we think and believe about God informs not just our mind, but our entire existence. It informs how we relate to one another. It informs how we sit with problems. It informs how we connect to God. It informs whether we feel we're worthy to connect to God or to other people. And all of these things produce fear. They produce anxiety. They produce either hope or the lack of hope. They produce results in motivation, or they rob us of motivation and put heaviness and depression on us. Never let anybody minimize what is said or the seed sown into your mind. Never let anybody minimize your formal study of God's word as you're communing with God's person. Don't just be that user-friendly, I just vibe with Jesus, but don't have a depth of understanding about what you believe. Because I've had people that are sincerely believe in God and who have sincerely encountered God, but they have a faulty belief system about what God is like. So while they love Jesus, they're plagued with heaviness for their entire existence. Look at your neighbor. In fact, yeah, because we're about to do for a good slap. Slap your neighbor. I'm not going to tell you where. Just slap them and tell them, know what you believe. Yeah, about good slap. Wake up. Know what you believe. Because Jesus shows us, follow me, that there is a connection between the weariness, being heavy laden, and the wrong belief system. He says, here is the problem. It is not that you guys are not sincere, it's just that you're ignorant. It is not that some of the religious leaders are not sincere, they're just uninformed about what God is really like. And here's what they're doing. They're heaping onto you some stuff that God requires, but adding to what God requires what they expect and what they want and what their preference is. Are you still here with me? So now you're trying to honor God, but honor God through the filter of all of these preferences and expectations around you, and you think it to be faithfully walking with me, you have to do all this. And he says, here's the problem. While they're sincere, they're misinformed, and this belief system is weighing you down. I think it's G.K. Chesterton that said it's not that Christianity has been tried and found wanting. He says it's that the real Christianity has gone untried. Christianity, faith as it should be. None of us purely from heaven's throne room without it being influenced through our hermeneutic or the lenses we use to see the word, or the lenses we use to see society. That there's no pure vessel 24/7. We're all trying to figure it out, but we should be working toward a solid construct of what God is really like and what God really expects, because we get fatigued in this God journey thinking that it's God wearing us down, and it is not God wearing us down. It is the expectations of ourselves and the expectation of others and the things that have been passed down for generations that never started with God but were just people's preferences. When we try to live all that out, it becomes too heavy. Jesus said, I see you weighed down, but come to me. Here's why I need you to come to me. I need you to come to me because I am the perfect illustration, manifestation of God lived out on earth. There is, Colossians tells us, everything in the Old Testament law was a shadow of things to come. The reality, the most potent reality of what God is like is in the person of Jesus Christ. And so if you want to get a snapshot of what God is really like, don't look at the God that's throwing light in it, there's a revelation in it, but don't look at just the God that resonates, or the narrative of God that resonates most with your human disposition. You start with the person of Jesus and interpret everything else in Scripture from the place of Jesus, because Jesus is the greatest revelation of what God's nature is like. God the Father. So he said, I need you to come to me, because I see you've been wearing a yoke that's too heavy. You've been engaged in work that I have not given you. Number two, he says you have bought into, absorbed, and attempted to live out teachings that were sincere, but they weren't from me. Part of that's what your mother told you, and part of that is what your grandparents told you, but they were taught by their pastor who sincerely was trying to interpret what God was like, and some of that is God, but other parts of it is not consistent with what you see from me. That's why he says, come to me. If the yoke is getting too heavy, let me give you a teaching that will be well-fitting. And here's why it will be well-fitting: because I will not add anything to what God requires, nor will I take anything away from what God requires. And when we are in alignment with our divine design, because we're not omitting or adding anything to God's script, that is when life begins to feel congruent again. It was the work we're called to, is the rabbi's teaching. But number three, it was unpairing from what is driving you and pairing to Jesus. He was saying this because there were oxen that were paired together, and to the best of your ability, you would want equally yoked oxen. Oxen that were equally as strong, oxen that were close to the same size. You wouldn't want a full-grown oxen and a baby oxen. An ox, it would drag that thing around. So you want to try to pair them to the best of your ability, but there's always a lead, more experienced ox. And here's the idea. Jesus said, my yoke is easy. My burden is light. The reality is, I want you to come and learn from me, learn my ways, see what God's really like through my person, because, in other words, he says, stop being yoked to what is killing you and become joined to what will bring you life. He says, be joined to me. Because, listen, as the weaker ox, something is going to guide you. Something is going to lead you, or something is going to drag you along. The question is not if I'm yoked to something. The question is, what am I yoked to? And while we show up to the party with the tight shoes and nobody knows our pain, we're surrounded by people and nobody knows what we're going through. While many of you are in church, it's not the Lord that's driving and leading you around, because right now, spiritually, yes, you're yoked to him, but practically you're paired to something else that has been dragging your behind. Yeah, it's quite possible to be in a worship service and thought about how you're going to pay your bills dragging you. You're trying to listen to this message like, Pastor, I hope you'll get this over with so I can get back to tending to my bills. For some of us, it is a preoccupation. A preoccupation with the ailment that we've had. And it's our frequent thought. It's our first thought. It's our foremost thought. While we're engaged in activity, like being at a party with those tight shoes, while we're still, hey girl, hey, what's up, homie? Yeah, all that. We're actively engaged in the party, and everybody thinks we're cool. But what we can't escape is these shoes that are killing our feet. For some of you, you're here at church. You even go and have to minister to others, but you can't hear about their needs. You can't experience their pain. You can't be present to hear words from the Holy Spirit for them because you're nursing the thing that you've been yoked to. Let's see if we can just swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help us God, because I don't want to feel alone. Y'all are making me feel lonely, and you're scaring me. You're making me feel alone, like this is not a human experience. When you guys look at me like this, I believe that I must be the only one going through this. But let's just go do a roll call real quick. And if you wrestle with this, just raise your hand like this. You don't have to raise it high. Just raise it right next to yeah, that's perfect exercise. All right, lower your hands right now. All right, does anybody know what it is? Some of us are yoked to expectation. Expectation from everybody about who we should be. For some of us know what it is to be held to a standard that people don't hold themselves to. Expectation of what you should do, of where you should live. You know, Long Beach got a stronghold in the name of Jesus. I love my city. But you will get canceled if you move one block outside the city limit. Where do you live? Lakewood. Oh, I ain't Long Beach. That ain't Long Beach. That ain't. No. But it's one block. I can spit to cow bowl. See, y'all laughing, didn't even know what I was talking about. It is expectation. Y'all have expectation of pastors. And everybody has expectation. Some want you to be as reachable as the pastor they grew up with. You know, and it was 15 people in the whole church. You want to go every backyard, barbecue, bar mitzvah, and birthday. Some people, if you don't preach like Bishop Jakes, it's like, nah, I'm cool. Others, if you're not as nice as I love him, met him plenty of times, Pastor Holstein, he got a grace to be nice. He got a grace for it. I ain't got that grace. I'm trying, but I ain't got that grace right there. And if you allow yourselves to take on the expectation of everybody around you, for some don't know, you know, the pressure of a pastor to walk perfectly, and oh my God, a single pastor now to try to even date, as crazy as it is in this life in the last several years, my God. And you better not make one mistake. But walk with Jesus into glory. The pressure. Some of you know what it is to be the go-to person, you know, in your family, whether it's finance or whether it's to have all the answers, and you can't go anywhere when you need some answers or you need some help. Nobody is there for you. You know what it is to carry the weight of that expectation of all these things. Some of us know what it is. We're almost there, y'all, to carry the weight of expectation, to carry the weight. I think I know how to open this backpack, to carry, the weight of, let me see by show of hands, of expectation of everybody around you. Anybody, hands, yoked to, don't lie, to perfectionism. Sometimes it's not the expectation others are holding to you. People are kind to you, but you have not learned to be kind to yourself. You have not learned to give yourself grace. And everything you do is a reflection of your excellence. And that has become a weight. Anybody know what it is to have the yoke? Here's a big one. The yoke of guilt. Oh, God. Guilt. Not just a standard that's unrealistic. Guilt won't even fit in here. The yoke. Perfect illustration. The yoke of not being able to escape what you know God's already forgiven you from. And if not careful, what the saints will continue to remind you of. Jesus comes to people who the Pharisees have turned their nose up at and says, I see you're heavy. Yoked to religious performance, yoked to, here, you stop raising your hands, yoked to, how about this one, people pleasing. And the danger is when people know that you're yoked to people pleasing, the only thing they need to do to manipulate you is show you that they're dissatisfied with you. And they can get anything they want. Jesus said, I see you weighed down, yoked to fear. Not even what is always real, but stress placed on outcomes that may never come. Fear. All right, nobody raise their hand for that one. Last one. Yoked to the image that you have to maintain. All right, we got 3. Jesus says, take my yoke. Because everybody is yoked to something. The question is not whether or not you're yoked. The question is whether your yoke is crushing you or conforming you into the image of Christ. And I want to tell you this. The yokes that are crushing you are not of the Lord. The silent voice that's crushing you is not of the Lord. The critics that are attempting to crush you are not of the Lord. Jesus says, I want you to come to me, all you're weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Let me see if I can give you one more illustration. Has anybody ever stayed at a hotel? Okay, 2 of us. Great. They were doing work at my place not long ago, and I had to stay in a hotel. Didn't love it, but I had to stay there for a couple of days as they were doing this work. And have you ever, when you got there, I was a walk-in, so they quoted the price to me. And when they quoted this price, I was like, cool, that's a great price. And then when I get there, they type on the computer, who knows what they're typing, for 25 minutes. And they ask me for ID and a credit card. And I usually don't look, I trust people. But this time I looked down before I swiped my credit card, and the total was not what they quoted me. I'm not even joking, y'all. I don't know what's happening in the economy. I don't know what's happening in all these silent hustles. They're arresting the boys on the block. But it should be illegal what some of these corporations and companies are doing. They quoted me a price, and when they showed me the total, I felt like I was at a used car lot, y'all. I don't usually complain about it, but it was like 35, 40% over what they quoted me. Now, I thought I knew the price, but then the fees started showing up. Y'all know the fees? And get the right, I wasn't in Bora Bora. I wasn't in Maldives. I wasn't in San Tropez. I wasn't even at a resort. I love my city, but I was in a hotel in downtown Long Beach, which is dope. Don't laugh at my city. It's dope down there. But here's why I'm saying I wasn't in all those places. Here's why. Because when I got it back, there was a service fee, processing fee, convenience fee, city tax, and some other tax I'm still trying to figure out, facility fee, and this is what got me. And sir, the big one, and your destination fee. I said, I didn't go anywhere. I have a destination. They changed it. Y'all ain't slick. You changed it from when it's a resort, it's a resort fee because they got stuff to keep up. It's a resort. This a hotel. The only amenity was the weight room and the pool. How did I have to pay a destination fee? And I didn't go anywhere. By the end, what was supposed to be manageable became heavy. Jesus said that's what religious legalism does. God gives his people a covenant meant to form life, but human systems, additions, interpretation, add extra rules, extra standard, extra shame. How about that one? Extra shame. Like, no, God, you get more shame. As if they're God's agents helping God out in your road to redemption. Extra measurements, extra burden. What makes weary? When we add to what God never intended. The Pharisees added standards. They didn't give room for humanity where it was. The weight of sin came on people, the personal disappointments many of us are wrestling with in this place, the mounting expectation of everyone in life, and just the general issues of life. You know what prompted this message? I believe it was the Lord, but I was having a heavy moment, and I realized as I talked to my friends and family and people in the store, everybody is squeezing into these little shoes that don't fit while practicing the art of not wincing with pain. But if you're proficient at lifting your eyes off of yourself and looking around at humanity, even the people that we label, if you look closely enough, their stride has been shortened, and all of us are feeling some sort of pain because of the baggage that we've taken on that God never intended. And here's what Jesus says to a weary, worn down people whose soul is tired. He says, come here. Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. What kind of rest? I'm glad you asked. He says, rest for your soul. Now listen to what he did not say. He did not say, stay and I will send rest. Because when God requires or desires intimacy with you again, which is the beginning of aligning your life, you don't know what you should carry or what you should put down when you've lost intimacy with the one that has given you the assignment. You don't know what is yours to carry and what burdens you should leave others to when you have spent no time with the master and have lost all intimacy with him. It's in his presence that you receive clarity. It's in his presence that you receive alignment. It's making time and communing with him where you're able to discern what is of God and what is not of God. What guilt am I carrying because that is me or the expectation of others, and versus what does God really require. That is why he does not say stay and I will send it. He says come and I will give it. Because there's an inextricable connection between intimacy with him and blessing and relief for you. That's why he said, I'm not going to send it, but I want to commune with you again because I love you. And I don't want you to feel as if the nature of life is for me to just continually bless you. No, the nature of life, the purpose of life is for you to commune with me, to enjoy my presence, to hear my instruction and direction, and to live out of that intimacy, to live out of that communion, to act out of that place. And all of us lose our way. All of us, like sheep, go astray. All of us drift. And when we drift, we're not graced to carry the weight. And when we drift from the voice of God, we strengthen the voices of everyone else who desires to put more weight into our bag. They put intentionally and sometimes unintentionally, they put yokes on us. They don't even realize they're putting. And Jesus comes to a people that are worn down. He comes to a people that are worn down. And he tells them, if you come to me, I'll give you rest. We got to go. Most of us came in and we sat on chairs that we did not inspect. You did not check the structural fortitude of the chair that you're sitting on. You didn't check the screws. You didn't inspect it in any way. But every time we sit down, we simply trust it with our weight. Another picture. But this is how, including me, I'm guilty of it too. Many of us treat God. We stand near him. We talk about him. We even sing along with the songs. We sing about him. How about this one? We recommend him to others. Have you tried Jesus? But we never actually have learned to put our weight on him. Listen, rest begins when you stop standing beside the promise and start putting your weight on the person. Jesus says, come to me. Come to me. And he has an invitation that you don't have to be mistaken about. It is one that is personal. It is one that describes, if this is not you, if it's not where you are, you don't have to make your way this way. But he said, I know there's some people out there, you've been weighed down, you have been heavy, you have been discouraged, you have been full of anxiety, you feel like there's twice the effort for half the result. You have experienced a fatiguing, not just of your mind and of your body, but you have experienced, some of you immediately, others over time have experienced a fatiguing of the soul. And Jesus says, come to me. Don't just sing about me, don't just talk about me, but understand I am the God that wants to take some of that weight off of you. He says, come to me and I'll give you rest. Not just any ordinary rest, but rest for your soul. You don't know rest until you trust him with your weight. You don't know rest until you trust him with your weight. I don't know what weights you've come in here with. I don't know how you've tried to squeeze into what did not fit. I don't know if you feel taxed. You feel like you're living a life with Jesus as Savior, but you have not experienced a life and life more abundantly. You feel weighed down. And I hear the Lord saying, it's not until you come to me. He said that I'll tell you what belongs to you and what God intends and what you need to lay aside. There's some of you that love Jesus, but you have been trapped by guilt. There's a heaviness of shame. And here's why what you believe is important, because if you believe that when you come to God, you're going to get all of the punishment you deserve, then you'll never come. Some of you don't come to him because you're disappointed that he didn't move sooner in your circumstance. And so disappointment is keeping you from him. But here's what he says he's like. And the greatest snapshot of the nature of God is not the interpretation a preacher gave you. It's not what a family member said to instill fear in you so that you would conform in terms of your behavior. But the best snapshot of what the God of heaven is like is seen through the person of Jesus. And Jesus, knowing that all these things hold us back and keep us bound, he says, not only come to me, he says, I need to tell you what I'm like. In the same chapter, he says, if you've seen me, connected with, if you connect with the Father. If you connect with the Father, you hear me. There is an inextricable connection between me and the Father. Why? So that you understand what I'm like. And when you see my nature, you'll understand what the nature of God's like. He says, you can come. It's okay. Come heavy. You don't have to drop your weight before you come. Come now. You don't have to wait until the shame lifts. Right in the middle, you can get up from your mistake. You can get up from your sin. There's not a cooling off period. But you can get up from your lowest place. You can get up from the mess and walk right to me. He doesn't say you need to hold off. He doesn't need to say you need to walk alone for another couple years. He says you can get up from the mess with muck and with mire still on your clothes. He has arms open wide. He says, come to me. Come come. I'm not what you thought I'm like. I'm like the father of the prodigal son. He didn't have to get himself cleaned up. He didn't have to turn his life around. He came still with the crumbs from the pig's food still on his mouth and with the soiled clothes from being in the mud. But he said, I think I'm going to come home. And when he got close to home, even before he got all the way, the father saw him coming and went out to meet him and told everybody, kill the fatted calf and get some new clothes and get the signet ring and invite everybody to have a party. I'm not waiting to take him out and to kill him and to tell him I told you so. I'm there with arms open wide. I don't know who I'm talking to. Somebody in this place, you walked into here with heaviness and you almost didn't walk through those doors because you don't know what God's like. But I'm here to tell you, he says, learn from me. Come to me. He said, I'm not harsh, but I'm gentle in nature. I know how to heal the places that were hurt. I know how to lift the burdens that have weighed you down. I am the God. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. He knows how to refresh me and revive me and strengthen me and redeem me and to bring me back. Is there anybody who may have to drag yourself up but is willing to come? He said, all you, I'm not going to qualify it, but if you're weary, if you're heavy laden, if you're burdened, if you're broken, if you're tired of the weight weighing down on you, he says, come. And I will give you rest for your soul. Now I see what the old people meant when they said, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. This is not temporary. It is not from the outside in. I couldn't do this myself. I couldn't pay for this with my money. I couldn't work this out with my connections. But when I was sinking fast to rise no more, the master of the sea heard my disparaging cry. He reached down and rescued me. Now safe am I. Look at your neighbor. Tell him you haven't gone too far to come back home. And when you get here, he'll give you rest for your